Hey everybody, this is Mickey G. As we enter another National Football League season, Rodney and I talk about the big ballers and how they take care of their family with all that money. Well, we hope you enjoyed this edition of Old Fools Talking Old School.
It's like I marvel when I hear people, he's got a $250 million contract, as if all that money is going in his pocket.
Yeah.
You don't have a clue. He's got a $250 million contract, but hell, once they take the taxes, it damn sure ain't $250 million. And then, he ain't getting all that in 1 year anyway. It's over a period of years. And then you got, the biggest liability is your damn family. Everybody's got their damn hand out, but you already become a conglomerate because you got an agent. You got to get some insurance for them lawsuits that'll come frivolously, as Shannon Sharp.
Uh-huh.
And you got all kinds of things. There's a whole lot of your money dwindles down real quick.
Yeah. Just like you say, you got an agent because he's the one going to be negotiating your contracts.
Yep.
So you got agents that you got to pay. You got to have financial advisors. You never made more than $20,000 in a year. Now all of a sudden you got $20 million you got to deal with. You got to get financial advisors that you hope have your best interest in hand, and not just in it for himself. And like you say, you got family members that you want to take care of. You got a quarter of that coming off the top just in taxes. And if you're in a state like California, it's even more than that because they have state income taxes that are very high. So yeah, it's nowhere near. They don't get nowhere near the base salary of a lot of those contracts. And some of those contracts have buyout years later on. They only guarantee so much money. But people who don't know that, they'll talk about, oh man, he's getting all that kind of money. He should be able to do this. He should be able to do that. But they don't know.
Once you buy them a house that they can't even pay the electricity bill in, just like I raised my kids to leave home. Your ass I ain't making room to bring your ass in. I'm not finna pay your bills all your whole life. You ain't got, if it was a situation where I could help you and you can maintain, okay, but I'm not finna take care of you. Am I getting up at 5 o'clock while your ass lay around? Then the next time I see you, hey, bro, can I get a new house? I'll shoot your ass.
Well, there's a lot of them out there that feel that way.
Oh yeah.
That feel, and to me that tells you something right there.
Yeah.
If you got to come up and ask me, can you get me a new house or can you loan me this or that? To me, I'm like, all right, I see right now what you're about.
Exactly.
I can see right now very much what you're about because those are the kind of people that's all they want. They ain't no kind of, I'm gonna give you this much back in this kind of time or whatever. They just want you to give it to them.
Come on, cuz.
That tells me enough right there.
Come on, cuz.
Yeah.
We grew up together. Yep. So we grew apart together too.
Well, yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same. And I guess, I mean, you never know. I mean, I've never been in that situation, so I can't say what I would do. But I guess I look at like I'm the kind of person that my pride would keep me from even doing something like that.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, I know you get in situations where you need help. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I guess I'm just more the kind of person of it would have to be a situation where, the family is not going to eat or we're about to lose our house or whatever before I would even want to approach somebody like that. I feel like I'm a grown man. I make my own way. I take care of my own family.
There you go. But see, here's the other key to that. As far as I'm concerned, just like my son got a couple of situations. I got tired. My automatic thing was to reach in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait a minute. At what point am I going to stop doing this? I said, well, I'm finna introduce you to a signature loan or something. You got to start standing on your own 2 feet, and if you a 30 or 40-year-old Negro and you ain't figured that out yet, I don't need to be wasting my money with you no way. And I'm just like, no, man, I am not as opposed to helping somebody, but I ain't finna be your fail safe every time you go out and screw up something that I'm gonna bail you out. No, no, no. Because as it gets down to what people don't understand is that the more money you make, the more problems you got. And things you got to protect yourself against. Things you got to, even if you running a business, I got things I need to do, and it's not handing out money to you every time I see you.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
and that's what these kids see. That's how they get taken advantage of. You go to college, you got everybody and their brother. Oh, they so helpful, and they give you $20 here, $30 there. But they think you're supposed to make life-changing decisions for them if you make it. I'll never forget my little nephew down there. He was playing, Division III basketball. And Rosin told me his sister told him that when the draft was coming around, now, there ain't no way in hell he was going to get drafted, okay? And they already down there, well, we helped him out and do that. He could at least buy us an Escalade. I'm like, you stupid. So that's on a smaller level. Can you imagine those guys that are up there that are guaranteed to get drafted or whatnot? This boy, anybody that knows sports, he wouldn't know he wasn't going to get drafted.
Right, right.
Because you had fools down there, we took him back to school a couple of times, and this and that. Boy, they already got the list made out. Even if he had got drafted, he would have been in the 19th round, and they don't even have 19 rounds. He'd be lucky. He might need to ask him for some money because if they sign him, they probably tell him, no, you pay us a bonus for signing you. But these folks, boy, they think, boy, as soon as we made it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a problem sometimes is these parents are waiting back for little Johnny to make it so we can make it. I guess I've always felt like, no, I want to do my own thing. I'm going to try to make it on my own. If little Johnny happened to get up there and do well, that's little Johnny's money.
You damn right.
If he feels it in his heart that he wants to give me some of it, I ain't going to turn it down.
Right.
It ain't gonna be because I'm gonna run up and say, "Hey, little Johnny, remember you used to come over the house and we used to babysit you when you was 2 years old. You don't remember that?"
And even just like with the parents, try to guilt these kids, and you the one laid up and had me. I didn't ask you to do that, and now you want to make me feel guilty like I owe you something.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I like about this young man up here, Jalen Williams, who just signed that $200 however many $1 million contract he signed. And, of course, I was being judgmental when I heard it. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking, well, come to find out, both his parents retired from Air Force out there in California. He's like, I'm setting my parents up. I would assume they were probably working civil service or something. He retired both of his parents. Mm-hmm. But okay, he's helping them. He didn't have to come in and restore them.
Right.
And there's a whole difference in there. Grant, you're dang right somebody would help their parents if they have that kind of relationship with them. But to come in and just, you my new dependents. I done raised my kids up, so now you my dependent. Come on. I would feel guilty to be even put in that situation unless I was just handicapped or there was some problem with me, but I sure wouldn't want them to go out and be spending a whole bunch of money on nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, I think a lot of it comes down just to individuals, perspective and pride and things of that nature. Just like, when you come from a sports family, your kid make it or whatever, you take pride in the fact that, well, yeah, you done well, but remember, I did this too. I was all state or all this, or all that kind of thing back in my day too. I mean, I would not have a problem saying, yeah, I appreciate you doing good. We're doing, me and mom doing okay too. You
Yeah,
enjoy your
right.
money. If you think you want to do something for us, I mean, that ain't a big deal. But don't think you gonna be that typical. I'm gonna buy my mom and daddy a house.
Yeah,
No, we got our own house. We're doing
exactly.
well. You
Exactly.
enjoy your money. If you want a little advice on some things. I've never maybe had to deal with that kind of money, but there's some common sense things you probably need to do, stuff
You're
like that.
damn right
But I
there
would
is.
rather be in that kind of position of instead of saying, "Boy, I hope he make it, 'cause if he makes it, maybe he can help us out," So
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just I just look at it that I would rather be in that kind of position. But that's not the way everybody thinks,
Oh,
and
no.
there's
It's
probably
not.
some people who through bad decisions, bad luck, whatever it may be, just, they did a good job raising the kid, and maybe that is enough to say, yeah,
Yeah.
I sort of got him
Yeah.
on his way, and if he wants to repay me, I'm proud to do that. But other than that, no, I just always felt like I want to be able to say I made my own. I didn't have to go
Damn
out
right.
and depend on my kids to either make it in sports or you just make it in life and say, okay,
Yeah.
I birthed you. Now you need to pay me back.
Now
No,
you owe me.
it ain't
Yeah.
about that. I got
No,
my
it's not.
own. I'm enjoying myself.
Well, the majority of those people who are like that, that's why they putting it on their kids, and I'm like, man, I would never do that to my child. And like I say, if anything come this way, it's because he decided to do it. It ain't because I'm making him feel guilty like he owe me. Hell, I did what I was supposed to do. I was the one. We was the one that had it. You don't owe us. So, and it's even more. It's almost like, they say the Lord help those who help themselves. How can your kid help you? You want him to take over your whole life and just make it for you. Pay your bills, buy your car, buy your house. You just got a nut and had him.
Uh,
It's just
yeah,
ridiculous, man.
yeah, and it makes you appreciate the stories of the moms, and usually it's the moms, even though sometimes it's not that way. That with that who did work two jobs and still try to make it home to take you to practice, and if they couldn't do that, made a way. I mean,
Yeah,
that did sacrifice.
yeah.
That did sacrifice.
Truly, truly
Yeah,
sacrifice.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I know I was listening to that. That kid at the Titans, that quarterback Cam Moore that
Yeah.
they drafted. They were asking him about something about his contract or something, and he said I trying to think of how he put it. I watched my dad for what did he say most of his life get up at 4:30 in the morning and go to a job that he hated. He
Mhm.
said, I love what I'm doing, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to try to be the best at what I do. And I've heard him talk a few times. He seemed like to be one of those kids that's really got a good head on his shoulder, and
Mhm.
his parents seem like they've got a good head on their shoulder too. But I said, he remembered that,
Yeah.
about just like my old saying that, I've never found a job that I loved, because to me, if it was a job, it wasn't something I loved.
Exactly.
I'd rather be not doing nothing than making the same kind of money. So why do I want a job? But yeah, it seemed like he paid attention to those kind of things growing up, and has made some smart moves and all. And it's
Yeah.
sort of
But
refreshing
see,
to hear
tho
somebody like that.
those are kind of parents that you don't mind going out and buying that
Hmm.
house and doing the things that you can do. Uh, but it's them ones that think you owe them, but now they want to capitalize on you. That's what those are ones that piss me off. Uh, uh, just like this boy Jalen Williams up here, his parents, what they don't, because they like to have their little narrative about black kids and all that. He lived a good life. Both his parents in the military. He wasn't. I ain't saying because of that he lived a good life, but the way it appears and the way he reveres his parents is that he lived a good life.
Yeah, yeah,
And so for him to do what he did, you understand that. because they wasn't coming at him saying, what you going to do for me and all this. They're like, hell, we already got our stuff. Dude, you grew up, in middle class,
Right, right.
you know. So what he wanted to do, and basically what he said was, I was able to retire my parents. So they already got their own. He just got them to where they can retire. Go
Yeah,
ahead and start
and feel
collecting
comfortable
and feel
doing it.
comfortable. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So it's one thing in to augment than to totally take care of, and it's just when you really think about it, it's an oxymoron because, that's what we raise our kids to do, to get out and take care of themselves.
Mhm, mhm.
So why do I want to bring you in now? I mean, if it's something I can help you with, cool. But just to take care of you? Hey, everybody's got to get out here and make a way now.
Oh, yeah. I look at, we're just that country. If you don't do that, you become a slave to the system.
Yes, indeed.
And I never wanted to, well, we're all slave to the system because the
Mhm,
system
mhm.
makes the rules. So I'll caveat that a little bit. But I always felt like, if you know the rules and you do the best you can to make a good way for yourself during your life, that's the way you need to go. Because if you don't do that, you become a slave to the system. You get on all those public assistants, and they then dictate the rules then
That's
of
right.
how much you can get, what you can do, and all
And
those
how
kind of
how
things.
long you gonna
How long you can do it, and that kind of thing. And I said, I just would rather not be in that kind of situation if I could. But
Mhm.
there's other people who they feel like the government owe them something, so let them take care of me. Hey, that's the way you think, not a problem. But that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking care of you because they dictate exactly what all you can do and what you can't do and how much you're going to get. Some people are okay with that. I just was never one of those kind of people.
No, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, I was just never one of those kind of people. And I feel like it gives me a little bit more leverage to talk about the system when I can say, and I ain't dependent on the system either.
There you go.
You know, I can talk about it because I ain't dependent on the system.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna talk about that ass because you could have got up just like everybody else. You know, give me that. Then blame the white man. No, it's your black ass is the one who stifled yourself. We already know that there's obstacles out there in front of us, but that don't mean quit.
Yeah, and we all have that.
Yeah,
We
hell
all
yeah.
have we all have obstacles. Obstacles. You know, I know it myself. I was never the biggest, fastest, smartest person by any means. So I couldn't rely on those things to get me ahead. But I tried to do the best with what I had, and some of that was hopefully making, sort of smart decisions along the way. But yeah, I never was a woe is me kind of person. I wasn't born with a silver spoon and everybody had everything else. I had nothing. I always was out there making my way, and I think some of that came from my upbringing because when we was old enough to work, we worked.
You
You know,
damn right.
w I come from a long line of getting up, and feeling like I was almost being cheated because other friends and families, when I was out there mowing them yard, was sitting at home watching TV.
Yeah. And,
But
and,
I think it
and how ironic. They still sitting there watching
no,
TV.
well, that's what I'm saying too. A lot of them same ones are the ones who are doing that same thing today. So
Yep.
I appreciate being that work ethic and all being instilled at a young age, even though back at that young age, I didn't quite understand that. I wanted to be out there just sitting at home watching TV or
Yeah.
doing other things that when they were out at night, out running around at night, and I was there working. I just didn't think that was right. But looking
Mhm.
back, it sowed a good seed of, well, if you don't think it's right, do something about it.
Yep.
Don't complain, do something about it. Go out there and make your way. And that's what I did. I didn't sit back and blame everything on everybody else because I didn't have this and I didn't have that. I was, like I say, many Christmases growing up, even though we did okay. We had a food on the table. We had everything we needed. There were still many Christmases I look through that J.C. Penney catalog Christmas edition and wanted all kind of stuff in there,
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
it wasn't under the tree come Christmas morning. And I felt like, well, damn, why can't I get this?
Yeah,
Kind of thing.
yeah,
Of course, that's just being a kid, but yeah, you those kind of things start to frame you to the point that you want to sort of do your. I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna
yeah.
make my way, and maybe I can get some of that stuff out of the J.C. Penney Christmas catalog. Of course, by the time I got that age, I wasn't getting Christmas stuff out the
Right, right.
catalog, but
But
yeah,
but
some
it
kind of
but it inspired you. It inspired
yeah,
you
it
to,
did, it did.
'cause it was the same way with me, man. It's like just 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 wonder why. That's the whole thing, the inquisitiveness of why. But if you think about it, a lot of the parents back then, they were beat down and they beat their kids down, beat
Mhm.
their aspirations, beat everything else. I never had that. I had nobody never to tell me what I couldn't do.
Right,
So we
right.
just knew the way things were, and I just knew the one thing that sticks out in my mind, over the whole thing was when I was in school, like in high school, and then we had the military base there, right?
Mhm.
My old man worked out there. Now down there, everybody worked out there, and I'm sitting here. We living on this side, and the white folks living on the other side, but they out. I'm like, well, how can they live over there? Are they making all the money or what? My dad works at Red River and your dad works at Red River. So what's the difference? You know? And that was when you started learning about the difference between black and white people are treated,
Mhm.
and I was like, man, there's got to be more to it than this. And I wanted to know that there was something else. And what got me too was like when people that were from there would come back, and it was all an illusion too, but they were doing better than the folks that was there.
Right, right.
You know, I remember a conversation I heard with my folks and somebody in there. Oh well, we make $30 an hour. This was like back in the early '70s, late '60s. Yeah, but your rent was and your mortgage was a hell of a lot more than down here, where they making $15 an hour. So even that kind of stuff I started deciphering. I'm like, I'm gonna got to get away from here, but it didn't really hit me until I went away to college, boy. I went down to Austin down there for my little scholarship thing, man. I was like, this is a whole different world.
Mhm.
I got to leave that little hump that I'm from because that that mindset don't work. You know, yeah, people down here doing all kinds of things, man. You know, so you know how it is. Where I'm from, people lived in certain areas, and those certain areas had a certain type of house. Even in Oklahoma City, I got up here and I started seeing like on the black side of town, but they had big houses. Now, whether they owned them or not, but they had these nice houses that were built up around the Capitol and all that kind of stuff. And well, I guess they own them because they're still there. They don't pass them down.
Mhm.
But where I was, it was pretty much them one bedroom, or not one bedroom, one bathroom, and several little rooms around it. A little. If somebody farted on the other side, you could hear it on the other side, kind of thing. So, I was amazed. I was like, good God Almighty. Even in San Antonio, where the black folks live, it seems like the houses were more roomy anyway, I'll say that. But sometimes you gotta spread your wings and you gotta go and see something different, and that motivates you too. Because I know once I had been to Austin and lived down there I was like, I can't stay in Texarkana, man. I know what's happening down there.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like you almost have to break that cycle because I know with my mom and dad, they grew up in that era of, you come, you're from there, you sort of stay there, you die there, you
Yep.
get a job there, as long as you got a job making a little bit of money and all right. that's okay. That's the norm. But for me, that wasn't the norm. And when you talk about what you noticed growing up, that's how it was sort of with my uncle. That went in the Air Force. He like I say, he'd come home and he was always dressed nice, had nice cars.
Yeah.
He'd run the ladies when he come home. He was wasn't married at that time and everything, and he just to listen to him talk. I mean, by that time he had been to England and places like that, talking about other countries and things, and just to hear about those kind of things, that was something that my parents never would have experienced because
Right.
they were homebodies. Like I say, they didn't travel to Nashville more or less outside the state. So that's what they knew. That by all means, I wouldn't even think about trying to talk bad about it. That's what they knew. I
Yeah.
mean, that was
Oh,
the
yeah.
core. I mean, even when I was talking about going in the Air Force, they were like, "Well, you got a job. What do you want to do that for?" I had a part-time job at a grocery store. But to them, it was a job.
Yeah.
Yes, I did have a job. I couldn't deny that. But like you say, sometimes when you see something different,
Yeah.
that gets your attention, that can help you sort of break a little bit of that cycle kind of thing. And I think that's where sometimes we get in those situations, especially when we stay in an area or do things that puts us behind the power curve. It's just hard to get out of that.
Oh, yeah.
You have to make sometimes some tough decisions, leaving family and leaving friends that you hope is going to make it better in the end. But some people don't do that. They just want to follow that same course, along the way. Well, that's how my family folks were brought up. That's how I was brought up. That's all I know. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. No
Yeah.
problem with that. If you're happy with that, that's fine. But sometimes some of us are just not happy with that scenario, and you have to
Exactly.
do something to, as I say, break the cycle a little bit. And that was even though we know there's no guarantees, even though when you do that, there's no guarantees. But I think, as I was telling somebody the other day, I said, seem like there's so many people who are waiting for this divine intervention, this whatever to come to them. I said, sometimes you got to realize you got to go and find it. You know,
That's right.
you just can't sit on the sofa watching TV all day, expect somebody to walk through the door and say, "I'm going to give you a six-figure job." You have to go and find it sometimes, and some of us tend not to want to do that. We feel comfortable in that environment. Okay, fine. You know,
Well,
just
a
don't
lot.
complain at the end.
Yes, sir. And a lot of us we're so full of cliches and we're so full of sayings that sometimes we don't even know what they mean and we don't even know what the indicator is. Okay. On the one hand, they'll tell you the Lord opens doors for you. You got to walk through them. Okay. But then that door might be to say you need to leave here, but you're comfortable and you don't want to leave here. So you stay here, and that's what I think a lot of our people historically were comfortable where they were and they didn't want to leave because they're afraid of a new frontier.
Yeah, yeah,
And I mean, and not in the past tense. That's still today. There's a lot of folks that sit up there and they comfortable where they are. They don't want to go somewhere and might have to meet new people or might have to do new things. I mean, you're you're basically just limiting yourself and you're not walking through that door that the Lord has given you the opportunity to go through. How many people do you know in your hometown and in my hometown, they went somewhere and they saw something different, but they fell back to the old comfortable?
yeah. Oh, I saw that happen in a number of situations. People, and they took the military route. They took the
Mm-hmm.
military route,
Yeah, yeah.
and then back in them day when you could like do 3 years and stuff, they came back right back home.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing that motivated them to leave was still there. Nothing had changed. It wasn't like all of a sudden, the job market was booming and they came back and got, really nice jobs, making good money, even though that's not everything. Making good money is not everything, but that hadn't changed. It was the same scenario that was there when they left the first time. So yeah, I mean, I've seen people who have at least done that part, but they decide to come back. Just
Yeah.
the same people that I've told you before that when I moved back told me on a lot of occasions that, man, I wish I had stayed in now. And I said,
Oh, yeah.
I understand. I said, but you made a decision that you thought was best for you at the time. I said, that's life. I said, that's life. But yeah, sometimes going out there in that unknown can be scary. Yeah,
Oh,
it can
yeah.
be really scary.
But that just shows you the lack of maturity and understanding and appreciating something new.
Yeah, we all make decisions in life, some that work out well, others that we may regret as we get older. But once again, that's all part of life. Well, we hope you enjoyed this edition. Join us next time for Old Fools Talking Old School. Until then, this is Mickey G.
Hey.